Apple has suddenly trapped itself in a security and privacy nightmare, just as iPhone 13 hits the streets. This now threatens to damage the next 12 months leading to iPhone 14 and is starting to look like an impossible problem for Apple to solve. The run-up to this week's Apple iPhone and iOS launches has been a disaster by their standards. Repeated security warnings as Israel's NSO reportedly exploited multiple vulnerabilities have added to its ill-timed and ill-conceived idea to run on-device screening for known child abuse imagery and explicit iMessage photos. Apple remains committed to catching up its peers and adding some form of CSAM screening to its cloud platform, but considering the backlash has decided to take additional time over the coming months to collect input and make improvements before releasing these critically important child safety features. Apple's defense was to assure that it would never bend to such demands, that it had protections in place. Unfortunately, just as iPhone 13 launched, those assurances have been very publicly dashed. It isn't China this time, where Apple has continually struggled to fend off government pressure, it's Russia instead. Apple has a history of removing apps that displease the authorities in China, and now it has done the same with voting apps that threaten to undermine the status quo in Russia. As reported by the New York Times, Apple and Google removed an app meant to coordinate protest voting in this weekend's Russian elections from the country on Friday. The decisions came after Russian authorities, who claim the app is illegal, threatened to prosecute local employees of Apple and Google. For Apple, this could not have come at a worse time. As the Times pointed out, what happened in Russia was a display of Silicon Valley's limits when it comes to resisting crackdowns on dissent around the world, completely undermining the CSAM scope creep assurances that Apple pushed so hard in response to the recent backlash. It turns out that Apple could not ignore the self-built mantra of what happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone. But Apple also clumsily boxed itself in. The company argued that cloud photo screening as done by Google and Microsoft and others is privacy-invasive, existing techniques as implemented by other companies. Apple said, scan all user photos stored in the cloud. This creates privacy risk for all users. Apple used this risk to push its on-device alternative, providing significant privacy benefits by preventing Apple from learning about photos unless they both match to known CSAM images and are included in an iCloud Photos account that includes a collection.